Good day and welcome to the IA's Increase Your Chances of Passing the CI Exam webinar. My name is Kelly Quinn and I will be your host for today's broadcast. Before we begin, I'd like to share a few housekeeping tips. If you experience any technical issues at any point today, please press the F5 key on your PC keyboard or the refresh keys on your Mac to refresh your console. That will typically resolve most issues. It's also recommended that you close out of any other programs on your computer, such as your email, to ensure that you have the maximum bandwidth to view the program. If you continue to experience any challenges, please send us a message using the Help widget on your console for technical assistance, and we will work with you in the background to help resolve your issue. We will be taking questions at the conclusion if time permits, so please feel free to submit your questions at any time using the Q&A widget. And with that, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce our first two presenters. First, we are going to hear from McKenzie O'Hara, who is the Certifications Project Manager at the IA. And McKenzie is going to cover the Certified Internal Auditor program and the CI exam overview. Following McKenzie will be Vicki McIntyre. Vicki is the President of First Plus Resolutions and has been a CI Learning System instructor for over 15 years. In addition, Vicki has also been an IA Global Volunteer for over 30 years. So Vicki is going to be covering information on preparing for the CI exam, study and test taking tips, and then we'll also go through some practice questions. At the end of the program, we will wrap up with a special drawing for a free IAE seminar and also a special discount for those on the call today. And you do need to be present to win. So if you make it to the end of the call, hopefully you'll be a lucky winner today. So with that, I will turn it over to McKenzie to begin our presentation.
Hello, everyone. My name is McKenzie O'Hara. Like Kelly said, I am a project manager at the IIA, and I work in the certifications department. Today, we are going to do a high-level overview of the IIA's flagship credential, which is the Certified Internal Auditor, or the CIA. There's about 185,000 CIAs globally, and one thing that we always think is so awesome when we talk about it is no matter what country you're practicing in, there's this underlying common thread of being a CIA, and it's really, really great when we can all get together virtually or at conferences and see such a strong and large group. We'll spend some time talking about the eligibility requirements for the CIA program. So if you look at this chart here, and there's a lot more information on the website, the URL that's listed at the bottom of the slide there. But if you look at this chart here, starting at the left-hand side, there's 3 entry requirements for the CIA. The first one is education. The next one is a valid identification, like a passport or a photo ID. And the third is a character reference. And the character reference piece is all done through the system. It's very easy, can be done by somebody like your supervisor or another individual that holds an IIA credential. The last piece that you see there is actually an exit requirement. That's the experience piece. So for the most part, assuming that you have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, you're going to need 2 years of work experience as an exit requirement, which means that you need that by the time you finish the entire program. If you look on the right-hand side of the slide, there's some topic areas that your work experience can fall under. They're very generic, and they cover numerous industries, as you can see. And so, again, just going back to the number of CIAs that we have globally and how diverse the group is, it's really cool. So, like I said before, more information on this, it's kind of a lot. There's more information on the website. And another thing that you can do, if you have any questions, you can submit a case to us in CCMS. CCMS, also known as the, oops, sorry about that. I guess I skipped ahead. We'll go into this question in just a second, but you can submit a case inside CCMS and the team will get back to you usually within about 2 days. So we'll go into this polling question, and I'm going to have everybody submit their answers in the chat feature. Have you already applied for the CIA certification program? We'll just take a minute here to collect some answers, and then we'll go from there. Like I said, please utilize the chat feature to submit your answers. Okay, here we go. Couple answers coming through. A lot of people on here probably have not yet applied, and that makes perfect sense. It's great news because we'll hopefully get you some really good information today on the CIA itself and the CIA learning system. I'm seeing a couple answers come through. Yes, that you have applied. That's wonderful. I'm assuming you're probably still working on it, working your way through. And so we're glad to have you here. Okay, here we go. So like I mentioned, CCMS is where you will do your application. It stands for the Certification Candidate Management System. And you can access CCMS through the IIA's website. But when you go into CCMS and you apply for the Certified Internal Auditor program, you will pay your application fee. And the application fees are going to depend on whether or not you are a member, a non-member, or a student. You can see that the member rates are lower than the non-member rates. So we always encourage individuals to become members prior to applying and registering for exams because it can save you a lot of money. And additionally, once you are a member, there's a ton of resources that you have access to earn continued education credits, what we call CPE credits, and so on. So the next thing you're going to do after you pay your application fee is you will upload that government issued ID and you will complete the electronic character reference that we talked about before. Okay, here we go. Another polling question. Please answer in the chat feature with A, B, or C. When are you planning to take a CIA exam part? Within the next 6 months, within the next 12 months, or haven't decided yet? There's some different strategies around this, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but I'm curious what timeline everybody on the call is looking at, A, B, or C. Okay, we'll give it just a couple more seconds. Okay, great. Within the next 6 months seems to be the underlying theme. Okay, and here we go. Moving on. Oh, great. Thank you for the answers. So there's 3 parts, 3 CIA exam parts, as many of you probably know. The first 2 parts really focus heavily on the standards and the IPPF. And the third part focuses pretty heavily on business acumen and IT. Now, this has been revamped in the last few years, and a few things did change. The feedback that we've gotten has been very positive because we want to always make sure that the exam parts are keeping up with the industry. So we're always looking at ways that we can stay with the the trends and with the industry. Each exam part is a little bit different, as you can see, and you can take them in any order. You don't have to go 1, 2, and 3, although that is the way that most people do choose to take the exams, but you don't have to. The first exam, you have 2.5 hours, and there is 125 questions. And then parts 2 and 3 both have 100 questions, and you have 2 hours to complete them. The CIA exams are offered in 14 languages. We've got everything from Arabic to Thai, Korean, Japanese, Spanish. And one thing to note is if you choose to take the CIA exam in another language, you always have the option of a pop-up screen that will show you the question in English and the language that you are choosing to take it in. And so that is helpful to many people who are bilingual. Okay, one more, another polling question here. Which of the following certifications do you currently hold? Again, answer in the chat, please, with A, B, C, or D. We have A, Chartered Accountant, B, Certified Public Accountant, C, Certified Information Systems Auditor, or D, none of the above. Very curious, want to get a gauge for the audience that we have here and what industries and what professions each of you might be working in. Give it a couple of more seconds here on some of these answers. Looks like we have some CISA individuals joining us today. That's great. Okay, we have some accountants, and I'm actually seeing a lot of D come through, which is great. You know, the CIA is an awesome certification to obtain, and you don't have to have one of these other ones in order to pursue the CIA. Very good, thank you. Okay. Well, for those of you who answered A, B, or C, we have a potentially very exciting offer for you. We have something called the CIA Challenge Exam. And what the CIA Challenge Exam is it's a one-part exam that allows you to receive the exact same CIA that individuals receive after taking the 3-part examination. The way that this works is we have 2 separate CIA challenge exams. We have one for CISA individuals, and then we have one for qualified accounting bodies. There's almost 20 accounting bodies around the world that are eligible to take this exam. CA and CPA are 2 of them that are eligible to take the exam. And what we do is we look at, we'll take CISA, for example. We look at your CISA exam and we take out anything that you have already been questioned on your CISA exam. So we take out a lot of the IT stuff from the CIA part, the 3-part, and we're able to get it down to a 1-part exam. We do the same thing with the Qualified Accounting Bodies Challenge Exam. We take out a lot of the stuff you've already been questioned on your accounting exams. We take those out of the CIA exams, and we only question you on the remaining information. Again, it allows us to get it down to a 1-part exam. We are actually accepting applications right now for the CIA Challenge exams. They are open through the month of April for applications, and then they will open again in the month of September for applications. And the best part about the CIA Challenge exam isn't even that it's a 1-part exam. The best part is it's actually a bundled package, which means you receive the CIA learning system as part of the fee that you pay. So you don't have to buy the learning system separately, and you can use all of the resources within the learning system to prepare yourself to sit for the CIA Challenge exam. Again, like I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions about anything that was mentioned here today related to applications or registering for exams, please log into CCMS or make an account if you don't have one yet and go to the Help tab. And then what you do when you go to the Help tab, you open up a case. And our team here at the global headquarters will respond to you as quickly as possible, usually within a couple of days. So without further ado, I will pass it along to my colleague, Vicki, who will be talking to you in more depth about the learning system. Here we go.
Thanks everybody for tuning in today. I just want to make a couple of comments before I get started with my content here. One point I would like to make is that, as we know, the entire world and the entire world of business, the entire world of governments, the entire world as it is becoming more and more and more complex. So is the CIA examination. If I had anything, one piece of advice to give you all today, it is do not procrastinate, do not wait. From the time that I earned my CIA certification about 23 years ago, the content in the CIA exam has become much more technical, much more relying on your good internal audit judgment skills. And the business acumen topics and the IT topics in the Part 3 exam are far more technical than they were 23 years ago when I took the exam. So my beginning words to you are don't wait, don't procrastinate. Get your study materials and get going. Make that commitment to yourself and your career. Your success in your career, could be dependent on earning your CIA certification. So don't wait. That's my number one message to you today. I just want to talk about the exam preparation, first of all, giving you some good information about the IIA's CIA learning system. Know that with the learning system, you can follow a customized study path that's going to prioritize the content based on your personal knowledge gaps, based on those topics where you maybe don't have as good of an understanding, and then you can spend a little less time on those topics that you've already mastered. So you can customize your study plan, and this is identified through a pre-test that you will take that will gauge your current understanding, your baseline understanding of the topics before you even get started. Or you can follow the entire syllabus path. You can go right through all of the syllabus content on the exam. Another benefit of the IIA's CIA learning system is that it focuses on smaller content segments, and it gives you estimated study times for each segment so that you can make the most efficient use of your time as you're studying, ensuring that you have a very clear understanding of every topic. So whether you have just 5 minutes to study before a meeting, or you have an hour or two to study in the evening, or 3 or 4 hours on the weekend, you can make progress toward your CIA certification goal. The CIA learning system is very convenient. It's designed for your mobile devices so that you can access your materials whenever you want, wherever you are, 24/7. Traveling is much less likely than it used to be 3 or 4 years ago pre-COVID. But, nevertheless, you can log into your mobile device, your tablet, your computer, and continue wherever you left off, wherever you are. Another great advantage, and Greg spoke to this when he was talking about the application fees and the exam fees, if you are an IIA member, then there are links embedded throughout the content where you can click through directly to members-only content that's right on the website. So additional information about the standards, the implementation guidance, other supplemental guidance. So that's another great advantage of the IIA CIA learning system and being an IIA member. Of course, we do offer all of the options. Most CIA candidates, as we saw from the poll, most people prefer to study on their own, but not everybody can stay focused. A lot of people drop their studies, they procrastinate, they don't adequately prepare. So the IIA's Board of Directors and the Learning Solutions folks wanted to solve this dilemma. This CIA learning system is very flexible. It can be used alone as a self-study tool. It can be used in small informal groups or in organized training sessions, publicly or privately available. So regardless of your learning style, you can experience success on your exams with the IIA's CIA learning system. I was just looking online on the IIA.org, and there is a Part 1 virtual course beginning on February 21st. So that is next Tuesday. That's a 12-hour course. And, if you're interested, check it out. Again, the IIA uses highly experienced, excellent instructors, so check that out. We also offer instructor-led training at colleges and universities across North America and internationally. And then also in the corporate environment, the IIA can provide you with an instructor to come to your business location and do an instructor-led classroom course, or providing you with an instructor just for your team in the virtual space. So every option is available to you in terms of, meeting whatever your needs are for your personal learning style. So what are the steps to success? First of all, assess, understand where you are today. What's your baseline understanding and your knowledge of the CIA exam syllabus topics? There is an online pretest in the CIA learning system that allows you to evaluate your strengths and weaknesses. The second step then is to study. You can follow that customized study plan that's going to prioritize the different topics based on your assessment. You'll study a section of the reading materials, you'll complete the quizzes, and review the flashcards. Keep in mind, the flashcards are an invaluable tool for continuing to learn, continuing to understand the various topics that you're going to see on the exam. However, I want to make a point. I did see a question in the chat earlier on about memorizing topics on the Part 3 exam. And I just want to share with you that you cannot memorize the content, the syllabus topics for the CIA exams and be successful. This is not a test on memorization. This is a test. All three exams are testing your practical application and understanding of the standards and guidance. And for Part 3, it's your understanding of general business concepts, and particularly about 50% of that exam is on IT and information security. So the questions are worded so that you are required to choose the best answer based on your knowledge of the standards, your knowledge of business, and application of the standards to internal audit planning and methodology, how we do the work, how we report on the work, how we follow up and monitor for management remediation of audit findings, and so forth. So in a word, to answer the question, can you memorize the content and be successful? The answer is no. This requires a concerted effort, a commitment to yourself, a commitment to your career, a commitment to your professional development, and at your personal demonstration of your commitment to our profession. So study, study, study. You'll study a section of the reading materials, again, completing the quizzes and circling back reinforcing through reading, through understanding, through the practical application of the concepts, through the quiz questions. So practice is the third step. After completing your studies, you'll put yourself in your final exam mode by completing the CIA practice exam emulation test. And I'll talk a little more about that in a moment. So let's circle back. Assess. Complete that online pre-test. Again, understanding your baseline today. Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? And develop that customized study plan. So this online pretest is going to give you a summary of your results by topic, and you can go back and review the questions and the rationales for the correct answers. Step 2 then is to study. You want to choose your study path. You can either follow your personalized recommended study path based on the results of your pretest, or you can follow step by step the order of the exam syllabus content. Either way, or you can flip back and forth. Reading materials, you'll read online or you'll download the learning system to your e-reader. You can also get printed books if you prefer to have, a book that you can hold and touch and feel and use your highlighter and make notes in the margin and so forth. Again, time estimates are provided on each of the study topics. So the online menu is going to give you this estimate of how long each topic will take to read and study. And again, keep in mind that these are just kind of averages. They're just guidelines. They're not absolute. The learning system gives you the presentation of each of the exam syllabus topics in small, efficient, concise segments to help you study more effectively. If you're still not sure about a topic after you finish the reading, then you can link directly to additional resources, which is a great feature of the learning system. The quizzes then, this is kind of where the rubber meets the road on your learning experience, where you apply what you've learned to test your comprehension. And each of the quiz questions is going to give you immediate feedback and the rationale for the correct answer. It's going to explain why the correct answer is the best available answer. Keep in mind that the CIA certification is globally recognized. It is portable all over the world. And therefore, the exam questions are oriented around different industries, different public sector, private sector, and you need to step out of your career experience and think very, very broadly when you're analyzing the questions. You need to think very much globally, from a global mindset. So what I'm trying to get to here is that you need to choose the best answer, the best of the 4 answer options. You may see 2 answers that are correct, and based on your experience and your industry or your public sector internal audit experience, you may feel like one answer is weighted a little more heavily in your mind, more heavily than another answer, but perhaps another answer is the best answer because it is more closely aligned with the standards and the IIA guidance and our global profession. So keep that in mind. And this is part of the discipline that you will build by using the CIA learning system for your studies, because you're going to be exposed to these types of questions that are going to test your knowledge, so that once you earn your certification, at least I believe that a qualified internal auditor can audit anything, anywhere, all over the world. The audit methodology is consistent. The tools, the resources, the approach to the work, this is consistent throughout the world. So again, your job is to choose the best answer, the quizzes are going to give you the rationale for the best answer. And again, it's going to give you a reference where you can circle back to your reading materials just in case you did not get the question correct. I mentioned the flashcards earlier. So the learning system has flashcards and a glossary, and you can learn key terminology and definitions by using the flashcards and the glossary. We recommend that you actually print the flashcards and then you supplement those flashcards as you're reading the syllabus topics. Supplement the flashcards by recalling what you have read and writing down that information on the flashcards. This gives you multiple touch points with various topics. You're reading the flashcard, you're reading the materials in the learning system textbooks, and then you are transferring it from your mind, from recall, onto the flashcards and writing it down. So this is giving you 3 or 4 touch points with a topic, which is reinforcing your learning. And we know from adult learning theory that most adults, unless you very recently come out of university or you are a very intense lifelong learner who is studying all the time, most adult learners are going to require multiple touch points with unfamiliar topics in order to recall and be able to apply the content. So flashcards and glossary are very helpful. This is one of the most frequently asked questions that I have had in my classes that I've taught over, I don't know, at least 13 or 14 years, maybe 15 years. How long is it going to take me to study? How long am I going to have to study? And we think in terms of the duration of the study. Is my Part 1 exam going to take me, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 weeks? And then the number of hours that I'm going to have to dedicate to study. My personal experience is that I studied for Part 1 and Part 2 together because Part 1 and Part 2 are internal audit standards, internal audit practice, internal audit methodology. It's all about the work we do, how we do it, how we report on it, and how we follow up on what management does with the information that we present to them after completion of an audit. Part 1 and Part 2. I studied, now I'm a CPA, I'm a Certified Public Accountant licensed in California. I had a lot of work experience, fairly high level work experience. I was an executive with a bank. I had worked in finance. I had worked in financial reporting. I had managed an internal audit function and a risk management function. I studied for approximately 50 hours for both Parts 1 and 2 after taking 2 days of live classroom exam prep coursework. So suffice it to say 16 hours in a classroom plus 50 hours of study, and I passed my Parts 1 and 2 on the first attempt. For my Part 3, the slide is telling you an average study time of 50 hours, something north of 50 hours. For me, I was a CPA, so I was a Certified Public Accountant. I had a lot of work experience in the internal controls over financial reporting and cost accounting and just everything having to do with accounting and finance, but I was very weak on the IT topics. Now, remember what I said earlier, 23 years ago, 25 years ago, IT was not nearly as sophisticated and technical as it is today. So internal controls around IT and cyber risks are huge in today's business environment. Not so much, 23, 25 years ago. Nevertheless, I had never done an IT audit, and I was terrified of the IT topics, even at that time. So I studied approximately 80 hours for my Part 3 exam, but I did pass it on my first attempt. Most internal auditors are not used to failing, right? We want to be successful, absolutely. So anyway, that was my personal experience. This is showing you altogether, approximately 130 hours that you should expect to study for all three parts. At the end of the day, my time commitments were flip-flopped. I had a heavier emphasis on the Part 3 content and less time investment in Parts 1 and 2. So your personal study time is going to be largely dependent on how recently you've completed university, your schooling, or your education. If you're used to reading and studying and taking tests and quizzes, you've already got a rhythm established, you're already disciplined, and so it might take you less time to study. Your years of experience can be a blessing and it can be a curse. For example, if you've had many years of audit experience in a public sector organization in the United States, primarily oriented around Yellow Book standards and guidance, or primarily oriented around Green Book standards and guidance and internal controls over financial reporting, you're going to have to work a little harder to study. You're going to have to step out of that public sector Yellow Book or Green Book environment and really dig into the Red Book, the IIA standards. So years of experience, again, if you've worked for a large U.S. corporation, a publicly traded organization that closely follows Red Book standards, you work for a very mature internal audit function, then much of Parts 1 and Part 2 are going to be very, very familiar to you. So again, years of experience, it depends on the experience that you've had and the work that you've done and the environment that you've worked in. Your expertise in accounting and IT will largely impact your Part 3 experience. So that's another consideration for your study time. And I just described my personal experience with that. Your study method is going to impact your time investment in your studies. So using a tool like the IIA's CIA learning system is surely to get you there. How quickly you read and comprehend topics. Some people have to read multiple times to be able to comprehend some of the topics. A key takeaway, again, remember that you can't memorize the topics or memorize the content to be successful. So the takeaway here, everybody learns differently. Everybody studies at a different pace. Do not procrastinate. Once you have made the commitment to yourself and your career path to earn your CIA certification, calendar your study time. So take that pre-test, understand your baseline, understand an estimate of the study time that's going to be required, be realistic about the duration of time. If it's looking like you need to study 50 hours for Part 1, don't pretend that you can study 25 hours over 2 consecutive weeks and be successful if you don't have an extra 25 hours in your life. Break it down into 5 hours a week over 10 weeks. Be realistic with your study time and your study plan. Put it on your calendar and show up for your appointments. You're making a commitment to yourself, and so you have to be realistic and you have to do it. Nobody but you can do it, okay? So only take your exams, only register for your exam when you're confident that you're going to meet your target date. You get to choose your final exam date. Unlike university studies, you get to pick, when's my final exam date, and then work, systematically towards that date. Don't procrastinate. So we suggest that you are scoring about 85, 90% or higher on your quizzes and the final practice exam before you take your actual CIA exam. So the CIA practice exam, this is one of my favorite features of the learning system. After you've completed all of your reading, all of your quizzes, you've worked with those flashcards, now it's time to get a feel for what your actual exam experience will be like. You want to test your readiness for your actual CIA exam, and you want to eliminate your exam day anxiety. So the CIA practice exam in the CIA learning system is going to give you the look and feel of your actual exam. It will be a timed test, so it'll be 2.5 hours for your Part 1 exam, or it'll be 2 hours for your Part 2 and Part 3 exams. So you will go through 125 multiple choice questions for Part 1. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the slide, this shows 2 hours, 29 minutes, and 36 seconds. So the time remaining on your exam is shown down there in the bottom right-hand corner of the actual practice exam, which is very helpful in terms of time management. You will have the option to flag questions that you are unsure of, so that at the end of your practice exam, you can circle back to those questions that you flagged and revisit them. Maybe something triggered your memory along your path of taking your entire exam that will help you to be more successful on answering a particular question. Here we have a practice question. So, which of the following fraudulent entries is most likely to be made to conceal the theft of an asset? So many exam candidates look at this question and think, okay, this is a fraud question. And then they think, oh no, this is an accounting question. To hide the theft of an asset. Oh my gosh, what kind of question is this? Okay. The point here is that you need to analyze keywords in the question to ensure that you are choosing the very best answer. So in reading the question, and this is really a pretty simple question, you want to look for these keywords, these qualifiers. For example, most likely, to conceal, to hide the theft of an asset. Okay? So in this example, answer A is the best answer: debit an expense and credit the asset account. So a fraudster is going to credit the asset to get it off the books, and they're going to debit an expense account, probably an expense account with a lot of activity that carries a relatively high balance over time, so that it's less likely to be identified, right? So it's buried in an expense account. So by analyzing the question, focusing on the keywords most likely to conceal theft of an asset, then you're going to say, okay, so what are we likely going to do? You should be able to eliminate answer B for sure, because crediting another asset account doesn't make sense to eliminate the asset that has been stolen. Okay, so you should eliminate answer B right off the top. Answer C, debiting revenue, that doesn't make sense because revenue accounts carry credit balances, and debiting a revenue account would stick out, and be easily identified. Debiting another asset account, answer D, that would then serve to inflate another asset account, which would more likely be identified. It would more likely be discovered. So not a good answer. So answer A is the best answer. The point here is to analyze your question. Study tips. So several of these I have already pointed out. Avoid procrastination. Set your study plan. Be realistic about the time commitment for studying. Again, go beyond memorization. Do not memorize. Don't attempt to memorize. You've got to understand the material. Understand the application of the concepts. Prepare for the computer-based test format. So you're going to do that through that final exam that is time monitored. Pay special attention to the IPPF. The IPPF is the International Professional Practices Framework, which goes beyond the standards, right? For parts 1 and 2, particularly focusing on the attribute standards in part 1, we're looking at, independence and objectivity, proficiency in due professional care, the requirement to have a charter, the requirement to have a quality assurance and improvement program, fundamentals of governance, risk, and control. So pay special attention to the professional practices framework. And that means all of the standards, the implementation guidance, okay? And much of the supplemental guidance as well. Write an audit manual table of contents, okay? If you were a new chief audit executive for an audit activity, what would your table of contents look like for your internal audit policies and procedure manual? That'll give you a really good test of how comprehensive your understanding of the standards and guidance are. And then, of course, consider real-life examples. As you're studying, number 1, be present, be engaged. It's all about you. It's all about your commitment to earning your certification. Pretend like you're working for a large publicly traded stock company and your chief audit executive reports directly to an independent audit committee of the board. Think like you have a larger audit department with varying levels of staffing and various types of auditor expertise. For example, IT auditors, financial auditors, operational auditors, compliance auditors, and so forth. So study tips, let's go to the test-taking tips. Read the entire question and all of the answers first, okay? If you have a very lengthy question, when you look at the question, you think, oh my gosh, there's 4, 5, 6 sentences here. Read the actual question at the end of the paragraph first. And that will give you an understanding of what you're looking for, the actual question that you're trying to answer. So sometimes reading through all the details might give you only part of what you really need. So read that last sentence first for those very lengthy questions. Look for those qualifiers, the clues, like except for, not likely, least likely, all. Avoid those words like always or never. If an answer choice has the word always or never, it's probably not the correct answer. Those are absolutes, okay? Anticipate your answer before you read those 4 answer options. Again, think very broadly, think globally, step out of your work experience. Eliminate the obvious distractors, those ones that are obviously incorrect. If 2 or more answer options are identical, then both of those answers must be incorrect. If 2 answer options are opposites, then we know that you can eliminate at least one of them. You want to choose the answer option that is the most inclusive. Very important. And I think we have one more practice question. Yes. All right, this is a good question. Determining that engagement objectives have been met is ultimately the responsibility of, and you have 4 answer options. I'll give you a minute to think about this, and then we'll talk about it. Remember, we're a global profession. Audit activities might be populated with only 2 people. In fact, I did a external quality assessment of an audit activity that had 2.5 full-time equivalent employees. Audit activities might have several hundred people. So determining that engagement objectives have been met is ultimately the responsibility of who? I will pop it up here. We want to look at the key words, ultimate responsibility. The correct answer is the Chief Audit Executive. And remember, globally, we're talking about internal audit functions of all sizes, shapes. From my experience in doing external quality assessments, no single audit activity has ever been exactly like another. They're all different. We all use the same methodology and the same professional practices framework. But ultimately, very important, ultimately is the responsibility of the Chief Audit Executive. That is the #1 leader of the audit function who is responsible for everything in the audit activity, okay? And this is largely covered in the supervision standards and the 2000 series of standards. I mentioned earlier about the attribute standards and the 1000 series of standards. Those 2000 series of standards talk about appropriate supervision. So this is where we get to the CAE being that leader. Okay, I've said enough. Kelly, I'm going to turn it over to you to wrap us up here today. Thank you, everybody, for engaging and listening, and very best of luck to you on your earning your CIA certification.
Great. Thank you so much, Vicki, for sharing all those helpful exam preparation and test-taking tips, and also to McKenzie for the important information that she shared about the certification in general and about that upcoming challenge, or the current challenge exam, I should say. Just a reminder, the challenge exam registration window is open just through the end of the month, so make sure you get that application in by the end of April. Okay, so exciting part of the call here. We are going to do a drawing now for a winner. And this person who wins will be able to choose an online e-seminar part to prepare for the CI exam. So I am just going to do a random drawing here from somebody on the call. And the lucky winner is Brian Taylor. Congratulations, Brian. We will reach out to you directly, and you can choose if you want to attend part 1, 2, or 3 and the dates that work for you. Okay, I also would like to share that we have a special discount for those attending the call today. For the next week, we're offering 20% off the CI Learning System exam preparation materials. This doesn't apply to the exam itself, but the study materials. And I'll just note that this is also on top of the discounts available for IA members. Definitely becoming a member. We would encourage you to do so as you receive discounts on the application, registration fees, and the study materials. So you are able to go to learnci.com, and you can enter the discount code CIA423 at the checkout, and that will be available until April 21st. Vicki also had mentioned that there are a number of instructor-led courses, both offered in person and virtually all around the world. So if you'd like to take a look at those courses, you can go to learnci.com and click on course listings, and you'll be able to find the course options there if you're interested in taking an instructor-led course. Also, just to note, if you do take an IA instructor-led course or from an IA-approved provider, that course will include these study materials as part of the course registration fee. So just to make you aware of that as well. Okay, the next slide here. Okay, there we go. Okay, just a couple of pieces to wrap up. Again, that discount code is CIA423, 20% off until April 21st. If you do have a group of 5 or more, maybe you have a group of colleagues or friends that are looking to study together, you may contact my colleague, Mike Downs, and there are additional discounts for groups. So just a heads up on that. One note, we will be sending out a recording of this webinar and also a copy of the slides. So if you don't want to have to jot down this information, that will be coming to you via email in the next couple days. And then if you do go down the path and earn your certification, that's such a huge reward, and make sure you just maintain that certification by submitting your CPEs. So if you are a practicing CIA, a practicing internal auditor, you need to submit 40 hours of CPEs each year, and non-practicing would be 20 hours. Make sure to keep all that hard work active and maintain your certification. So we do have just a quick minute here for a couple of questions. If we don't get to your question today, we will respond directly to you. But I just wanted to make sure that to note the website to find an archive and a recording of this webinar is also able to be found at this website here. So let's just take a minute to do a couple questions. The first question is for McKenzie, and the question is around the exam scoring. McKenzie, would you mind please just explaining again how the exam score works and what they need to do to pass?
Sure, of course. Your raw score is calculated based on the number of questions answered correctly, and then that is converted into a reporting scale ranging from 250 points to 750 points, and you'll need a score of 600 or higher in order to pass.
Perfect. Thanks, McKenzie. This question states, I heard there are new questions that were added to the learning system. How do I access? Yes, that is correct. Last year, there were 400 new questions that were added. So there are now over 2,600 questions overall. If you have previously purchased our current version 7 CI Learning System materials and you log in again, you will automatically receive access to all those new questions without having to purchase any type of upgrade. So those are available now for you to access. Another question for McKenzie is, will I be able to test from home throughout this year?
Good question. Yes, the option to test from home is still currently available in most locations. Please check the IIA's certification page on the website for more specific information about that.
Perfect. I also saw a number of questions coming in wondering when the exam might change with the new standards that are being released. Just so everybody is aware that the CI exam in English will not start testing the new material until early 2025, most likely March. So you have 2 more years to study under the current CI exam syllabus, and therefore these study materials, the current version 7, will also be available for 2 more years as well. So there's plenty of time for you to prepare and continue on with your studies. So let's do one more question here. Looks like my online access has expired. Is there a way to extend? And yes, you may go to learnci.com/extension and apply for an extension if you need additional time to study with your online software tools. All right. So it looks like we're coming up to the end of our time here. I just wanted to give a special thanks to our presenters today for a great program. We are going to display a post-event survey. If you're not able to see the survey, please go to the Resources tab on your console where you'll be able to locate the survey link there. And again, if we were not able to get to all your questions, we will follow up with you directly, or you may access the FAQ document on the webinar archive page. So thank you very much for your time, everybody, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining us.